Is alcoholism really a disease? Today, an expert, Herb Kay, live today on Restoring Hope Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
5 minutes after the hour, and this is RestoringHopeLive.com. We thank you and we welcome our listeners from the American Family Radio Network as well as XM Sirius. This radio program comes to you each week at this time, and we talk about life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. We talk about drug addiction. We talk about alcohol addiction. We talk about food addictions. We talk about issues of emotional as well as physical abuse. We talk about what happens if you find out somebody you love dearly decides they're gay, and how do you handle that? We talk about those issues that most of the time your pastor's probably not going to approach from the pulpit. We thank you for being here today, Dr. Mike Hartwig, who is also a seminary graduate of, well, you're a Baptist pastor. Right.
You act like I have the plague.
No, not at all. I love you, Baptists. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't know exactly when we're wrong. Because you're always there to tell us.
That's right.
And Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat.
Wait, let me clean. I love Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That's the way I prefer to be recognized.
Right.
I love Jesus Christ. And John was a Baptist, so...
And do I love Jesus as much as you?
Yeah, we're going to be in heaven together.
Okay. See, he avoided the question.
Yeah. Well, what's the question? Do you love Jesus
as much as you do?
I don't. I can't look into your heart.
The Baptist in him. The Baptist in him won't answer. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, who watches our chat. If you go to RestoringHopeLive.com, there is a watch now, and you can visualize us. We are not television. We are passionate radio with pictures. You can see all of our previous shows, all 40-some of them, at RestoringHopeLive.com. Bob is also a forensic scientist and is one of the world's outstanding experts on alcohol and alcoholism and what it does to your body. So we're very glad to have him here. As always, Mary is here. Mary is 31.
Yes.
31 years sober. And our special guest today, and let's bring him up, he is coming to us live from the great state of California. It is Herb Kay. Herb, how are you?
Well, good morning, Mac. I'm wonderful, and you've got your wonderful enthusiasm.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm really honored to have you on the show today, and I've got about a half a dozen questions I want to ask you, and we probably won't get to all of them, which means you'll have to. We'll invite you to come on again, and we want to thank Mary because Mary's the one that really brought you to our attention because you've been to one or two of his conferences.
I was at a conference where he was leading a prayer and meditation session, and then I brought him to the city where I live to put on a workshop, a 12-step workshop.
And why is it that you're so passionate, Herb, about the 12-step process?
Oh, it changed my life, that's all. It gave me what I was seeking for 48 years without ever finding. I did not know that I wasn't a finder. I knew I was a seeker, but I thought all of the experiences and information I was having was, in fact, the reward for all the seeking. And finally, when I came through a 12-step process, after I was sober for about 5 years, I had this transformation that was phenomenal. And after I had completed that work, it took about a year to do, I looked back over my shoulder and I said, oh my goodness, I am now a finder, not just a seeker.
Yeah, and you would say that you had a spiritual awakening.
That's exactly a spiritual awakening. I've had little blips or little pops or little epiphanies over the 25 years since then, which I call an experience, but mostly it's that gradual transformation, that gradual change.
All right, well, I want to start out with a tough question. if I can, for you today.
Sure, please.
And please feel free to interwind your own story into this. You are our guest for the entire hour, and so we are here to serve you. But here's the question that I think a lot of people get caught up on. And I'll be honest with you, I still do a little bit. Because I went to a doctor almost 10 years ago, and I said, I got to quit drinking. I just hate this. I don't drink in the morning. I don't drink at noon. I don't drink in the afternoon, but I get home, I put my kids to bed, I get a bottle of gin out, and it's gone, and I'm in bed, and I black out, and the next morning I wake up and said, why do I do that?
Yes.
So the doctor, who was a doctor of psychology, ended up diagnosing me with a mental disorder. And said, Mac, if you want to try to quit drinking, you can, but you won't be successful until you put this mental disorder into remission. Well, that took 5 years. I was told I was in remission in December, and the following May, the good Lord lifted that desire of a drink away from me, and I've been sober for 1,395 days. Yeah. So I myself wonder, is alcoholism a disease? Or is it just a pathetically bad habit?
Let's see. No. Yeah, the answer is yes and yes. Let's be really clear. I'm not a clinician. I'm not trained. I don't have any special degrees or certifications that would, in fact, put the imprimatur on anything I say. But what I know is that I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of information that helped me get that experience. And I divide the first half of the first step about powerless over alcohol. That's from the 12-step program. The first step has really two essential parts. The first half is about the addiction, alcohol in this case, that are in our conversation. And I divide that into two parts, that I have a physical disease. I think your psychologist was on track. I would describe it perhaps a little gentler or a little differently than sort of a mental illness, although I'm not sure that that's not absolutely appropriate given the destruction that it causes and the vagueness of dealing with it. But with regard to the physical, that's pretty clear, and the evidence is in evidence sufficient that the Medical Association has, in fact, in their DSM, diagnosed it as an illness in the same way that diabetes is an illness. And the speculation is, and the evidence for it, that we have a defective liver, that it doesn't process alcohol correctly. The key question to ask an alcoholic, there's only two questions. It's really simple. It's not about how much you drink. It's not about when you drink. It's not about what happens when you drink in terms of the drama. And I thought it was originally, but now I know that the first question has to do with your biology, and that is, what happens when you take a drink? And you said it. You begin to drink gin, and you drink more than you intended. Now, that's the question. Do you ever drink more than you intend? Then do you do it regularly or periodically? Do you do it more than once? A real alcoholic will just look at you as if it was a trick question. That's my total experience, of course. And the liver of a normal person, 9 out of 10 people in North America, will process alcohol and either absorb it into the system or urinate it out. But in an alcoholic, the liver has a defect, and it will process alcohol and create a liquid or a chemical called acetone, which, when it's deposited in the cellular structure, will then have that cellular structure demand more alcohol. It becomes a biological mandate.
Our guest today is Herb Kay, and we are going over alcoholism and starting out with the tough conversation, the tough question. Is alcoholism a disease? And Herb's answering that very well for us. We'll be back with more of Herb and Mary and Dr. Mike and Bob and myself. Don't forget our people that really make this show happen, and that's Transformations. Go to our website at restoringhopelive.com. Give them a call, and they'll answer all your questions about how you can get help for you or a family member.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Addiction specialists are ready to take your call. Call now, 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. There's no easier way to share your faith than by giving someone a free gift, the Word of God in a compact, pocket-sized gospel.
I'm disabled and staying in a hospital, but I may meet more than 5 people in a day and can give them a gospel. I ask everyone if they know Jesus.
Hello, I'm Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. We'd love for you to experience the joy that comes from giving someone the inspired Word of God. We'll make it easy for you. Won't you join us?
We found the Gospels to be an excellent tool for leading a person to the Lord. We give away several books each month at the Soup Kitchen. Thank you for making it so easy for us to witness to the less fortunate.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Make sure your child is up with the alarm and ready for school each morning, because missing just 18 days, even in middle school, will put their graduation at risk. It's up to you. Learn more at boostup.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
A Marriage Moment with Dr. Mike Hartwig for Marriage Matters Live.
A husband once told us that his wife wanted him to be more romantic, but that she doesn't want him to spend any extra money on her. He wondered what to do. It's easy to get so focused on money that we forget that some of the best things in life are free. If you're on a tight budget, you can forego the movie and dinner and still have a great time with each other. When Leanne and I were in college, we used to go out just about every weekend, and very seldom would we spend a ton of money. We couldn't. Strong couples realize that it's not the activity that you do, but it's being together that is all important. Some of the best times that we've had together is just going to the park or the mall and watching people. Whatever the case, don't fall into the trap that you have to spend a ton of money to have a great date.
This Marriage Moment and Marriage Matters Live is a ministry of Restoring Hope Live, heard Sundays on this station.
Restoring hope.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program, Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Learn more now at restoringhopelive.com. Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
19 minutes past the hour, and this is RestoringHopeLive.com, live on XM Sirius and the American Family Radio Network. Our special guest today is Herb K, and he is a... Herb, how would you describe what you are? Are you a are you you're passionate about 12 steps. You're passionate about spirituality. You've made it your life's mission to help people who suffer from life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. But how would you describe yourself?
I'm a recovered alcoholic, and I'm a trained spiritual counselor, spiritual director.
All right. Now, when you talk about spiritual, does that have a denomination? Does that have a religion connected to it? Or is that just connecting with your spiritual side?
It is non-denominational, even though I do have a religious tradition that's part of my background and part of my commitment. It's not necessary, and I don't come from that perspective, and I don't try to evangelize in that mode. Spiritual for me means a relationship with a power other than myself. It really means a context of meaning that's greater than me. And I help people find the universal principles that are inherent in finding that truth, that there is something, a fourth dimension beyond us. I loved your commercial, by the way, and it talked about the substance owns you. And that's what we were talking about with regard to the biology. It's a biological mandate. Once I take a drink, it's not my responsibility. Once I take a drink, basically, the drink is going to take me. But you're a smart guy, and you're a tough guy, and you're a successful guy, Mac. Why didn't you just say no? Why didn't you just stop?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the second question. And that's where your clinical psychologist was on the track, where there is some type of an emotional or mental problem or difficulty. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous calls it an obsession. That is a delusion. That is a thought that takes possession of us. The substance owns you. Once I stopped, and I stopped regularly. I couldn't. I couldn't stay stopped. And yet I would begin again not remembering the negative consequences, not remembering my willpower, not remembering my resolution, not remembering the chaos that I created in my family, in my life, in my workplace.
Yeah, and Herb K is our guest, along with Mary, who's 31 years sober. How many years do you have sober, Herb?
30 years as of February 21st.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I feel like the young kid here with 1,395 days, which is almost 4 years.
That's wonderful.
But, of course, Mike, as a good Baptist, he never drinks. And Bob doesn't drink because he has alcoholism in his family. And, quite frankly, you were the smart one, Bob. You just said, I'm never going to get into that.
That's correct.
I saw what it did to my dad and my brothers, and you said just no way.
That's right.
So let's make it clear that the alcoholic isn't just the guy under the bridge in a brown paper bag. The alcoholic is probably sitting next to you in church, or across from you on a plane, or next to you at a board meeting, or on the same bus that you take to go to work, or driving right down the next lane next to you. Yes, there are a few that are, what's the term we want to call them? They're always drunk.
Yeah, they're chronic alcoholics, or in fact taken to a place of being derelicts. But I was a senior vice president of a public international corporation. We can get off the elevator at any point that we're willing and that we connect to grace. There's the mystery right there. I don't know how that works. That addresses the unmanageability part.
Yeah, that's the part of the unmanageability. Now, it was not too many weeks ago when I had to separate Mary and Dr. Hartwig, because when we got to step 3, now remember, he's a seminary graduated Baptist pastor. And when we,
And I went to a Lutheran church this morning.
You did, thank you.
And my grandmother was Assembly of God. I went to a Brethren church when I was for a Brethren school for half my degree. So
you just can't make up your mind.
And I have a graduate degree from a evangelical free school. So
you're just trying to say you're so smart.
No, I'm trying to get into heaven however I can. Any way I can.
So Mike, who had never really gone through the 12 steps, Herb, we got to step 3. and it was a God of my understanding. And I swear he was going to come out of this chair, and Mary, poor Mary, just tried to make him understand. And I think he's better at it now, but maybe you can help people understand why, especially good Christians. Because quite frankly, when I first heard a God of my understanding, I was offended by that. What do you mean a God of my understanding?
Wait, before you go on and give this over to him, let me defend myself. And that is that when I understand the history of this, so how this all came about now, it makes perfect sense on how this, because this is a controversy that happened from the very beginning of 12 Steps program.
Right.
This isn't just something that's kind of new and everybody, and it was a real point of contention there at the beginning stages as they were developing these 12 steps.
That's why Celebrate Recovery is so successful.
Right. Celebrate Recovery is takes the position that it's Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But let's do the role play that you and I have done. So I'm the alcoholic, and you're the pastor, and you tell me step 3 is to turn my life and my will over to my God. And we stop there. We don't say of my understanding. And I say to you, what God? And you say,
we'll get there.
Herb.
But it's not the God of...
He just bailed on me.
We'll get there. But my contention is it's about Jesus Christ. It's not about the God of your understanding.
Right. But understand that if you tell someone who's a drunk, and
I
probably one of their big resentments is against God, because God has abandoned them, God has hurt them, God is ashamed of them. They can't go into the house, they can't go into the church. And when you say Jesus Christ, they're out the door.
I recognize that.
Okay.
I'll give you that. But on the other hand, I think they make a mistake by saying the God of your understanding. They need to just drop that last phrase and just say God.
And then I say, who's God? And you say...
We'll get to there. We'll get there. And that's
Herb,
what you're
do you
saying.
think about
and that's
that?
what you're saying. That's exactly what you guys are saying.
Well, I think there's a huge misunderstanding here, and one of the benefits of the 12-step approach, which opened my eyes, I was a monk for 7 years. I was in a seminary being trained to be a priest, and 7 years of silence. So I have some training, I have some information, I have some background, and I never found the connection. I was in AA for 5 years, and I never found the connection. But
connection to what? Connection to what?
A connection to God, a connection to higher power, a connection to the mystery.
Let me ask you this, Herb. Do you consider yourself a follower of Jesus Christ?
I don't think it's the right question. I just don't think that's the right question. So I'm really actually not going to answer it because it's irrelevant.
Well,
the right question was posed by Carl Jung when he first sent an alcoholic he couldn't get sober as a psychiatrist after spending a year with them. He got him to a point where he was a year sober, and the guy relapsed. And he said, I'm sorry, but essentially I can't help you. You've got to go find a spiritual experience. And this guy went, he said, well, I'll go back to church then. And Carl Jung says, young man, you're not listening. Church and religion won't do it for you. You have to find a spiritual experience. And he went back, and as you indicated, he found the Oxford group, which was the predecessor group to Alcoholics Anonymous, and its origins were first-century Christianity. But fortunately, they had a very broad, all-inclusive attitude, and they said, find the God of your understanding. Yes, we follow Jesus, but you need to find your own relationship. If we can help you, terrific. And that's what Bill Wilson adopted when he wrote the big book. And you're right, with some controversy, but fortunately it's the silver bullet of Alcoholics Anonymous, because anybody can approach God from their understanding. They're not defining God. They're approaching God, and the God of Christianity and the God of Buddhism and Judaism and Islam and the God of the doubter is the same God that loves us unconditionally. All we need to do is approach God, and God will then bless us with recovery, bless us with a life that flourishes if, in fact, we find our way to universal and spiritual principles. Whether we find them within the context of a defined religion or not is a moot point. Bill Wilson in the book suggests that once you've had your spiritual awakening, find a church. It's a great support mechanism.
Herb Kay is our guest today. Mary is in the house along with Dr. Hartwig and Bob Montserrat. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Restoring Hope Live, brought to you by Transformations Treatment Centers.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our guaranteed success program, Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Learn more now at RestoringHopeLive.com.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place, and then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy, busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait. Mom, what?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day.
Talking with strangers is exactly opposite my personality. Very difficult and immensely stressful. But how can I keep quiet? Yesterday was the first time I've went with people from my church specifically for evangelism.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
As we talked with people, I watched their faces change. Suspicion became interest. Interest turned to concern. Concern to guilt. But guilt became surprise and amazement. Thank you for helping me share the best gift I've been given.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
It's always amazing to me that only 3 to 4% of Christians tithe. Listen to Ezekiel 44:30. The best of all the first fruits of your special gifts will belong to the priest. You are to give them first portions of your ground meal so that a blessing may rest on your household. It is clear that God in His Word wants us to give first fruits. And I'm sure as I do, you pray for God's blessing upon your household and your family. And as you pray for that blessing, do you give to Him what is rightfully His?
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
26 minutes before the top of the hour, we thank you for listening today to Restoring Hope Live. up on XM Sirius and the American Family Radio Network. We've got one more segment here with Herb, and then we'll wrap it up with ourselves. Mary is here. She's sober 31 years. Herb's been sober 30 years. Dr. Michael Hartwig, along with Bob Montserrat, who is a forensic scientist by trade. And Herb, we've got about 11 minutes here. Tell me the purpose and method of the 12 steps, please.
It has only one purpose, and that's to find God. It's like the teacher who stands pointing to the solution. Organized religion, however, sometimes becomes worshipped as the finger instead of finding God. This is the difference between religion and spirituality. And the 12 steps are just a simple process of conversion, of transformation, of finding God by identifying the things in yourself that are the impediments and having them removed, both by your effort, but also by your recognition of your powerlessness and your humble submission to the mercy. It will be removed.
I got chewed out one day by an old timer when I made the comment. We were in the book for you. Help me, the chapter for the
chapter agnostic.
Agnostics. Thank you. And I made the comment in a meeting to an old guy that AA is a religion also. I mean, we have.
Well, it's not a religion because it has no dogma and it has no rules. So by that definition, it's not. If you say it has a membership, sure, but there's no roster on that. There's nobody in charge. There's nobody getting any money except to support the literature. So from that standpoint, it's not. But that's, again, it doesn't really matter what you call it. It does matter what you do. That difference between theology and ethics. Theology is a set of beliefs. Interesting. It really, really got my head all wonderfully wrapped up in the discussion and the ideas and the academic. But then somebody asked me to look at my feet. How was I behaving? What were the actions that I were taking? And at 5 years of sober, going through this work, looking at my feet, I saw the truth rather than the lie. And I made that wonderful connection from the head to the heart, from information to transformation.
Herb Kay is our guest today. He's 30 years sober. Mary's here, 31 years sober, and the rest of the crew. Herb, what do you define a spiritual awakening for me?
Yes. The big book has it in Appendix 2, and it literally just means a change. But what it does mean is a change in the way I think, the way I feel, the way I behave. And here's the key, because it's not a gathering of self-help people. It's a gathering of people who have come full on to confront their helplessness. It's a change in the way we think and feel and behave, and it's done to us, not by us. I did a lot of work in doing the 12 steps. It took a year to do it, but the results were disproportionate positively to my contribution, way disproportionate. My life flourishes for the last 25 years because I operate in a relationship with the mystery, and I use a litmus test of spiritual principles to guide my behavior.
And for those of us who follow Jesus, we would call that the Holy Spirit.
I call it the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what involves us. Now, is there any single key to recovery, in your opinion?
Yes. I mean, there's lots of different keys. There's lots of different moving parts. But I thought about that, actually, and I think willingness is the key.
Willingness
was when I showed up. Willingness when I took the question that they asked me, what's your history with drinking? And I honestly wrote out the answer. Willingness was to go then and begin to seek recovery through a whole bunch of moving parts in the 12-step fellowship. Willingness. But my spiritual guide said willingness without action is fantasy. The Christian scripture says faith without works is dead. All right? willingness with action is the alchemy that will turn my self-centeredness into my relationship with the other and my service to others.
I've heard some people say the term that faith without action is still faith, but it's disobedient.
Well, it's interesting. The Latin derivative for obedire means to listen. Obedience is listening to that Holy Spirit. That's why we do meditation. Oxford Group words get guidance from the Spirit. And that Spirit is gently pressed up against every human being. There's the all-inclusivity of spirituality. God loves unconditionally and is pressed up against me at all times. All I have to do is become awake to the truth rather than the delusion that God is other than me.
Is that the practical practice that we need to ensure sobriety and growth? Is just knowing that God is always pushing on us, is always present, meets us where we're at?
I love it. And Bill calls it our way of life. Do inventory and clean out the impediments, step 10. Do meditation, sit in the morning and the evening asking for guidance and a relationship with the mystery, with the Spirit. And then go out and do something. Carry, based on spiritual principles, help people in your community, help people in your family, help people at your work. And the rest will be history.
Herb, I sure appreciate you being with us today. How can people reach you if they want to reach you?
HerbK12 at hotmail.com.
All right, so it's HERB.
Yes.
The letter K, 12.
12 at hotmail.com.
Is it the number 12 or the words 12?
The number 12, obviously 12 steps, right? Or 12 apostles, however you want it.
There you go. But don't you also have a website?
I do. HerbK.com. www.herbk.com.
All right. Herb, it's been a pleasure to have you today. Mary did a wonderful thing turning us on to you, and I look forward to meeting you someday and maybe having you back on the radio again. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Mac. It's a delight, and obviously we need more time.
Yep. God bless you, sir. Thanks for all the work that you do.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right, that's herbk.com. That's where you can find Herb, and you've been through, Mary, several workshops?
No, actually, I went through, Herb guided me as a step guide through the 12 steps. It took me about 18 months. It can take, he said he did 12 the first time. It can take 18, 2 years, just depending on how long each person takes to do it. And then, as I said, he was here in my home city and put on a workshop here. So... Yeah.
And you know, you did this at how many years sober? 25?
Actually, I met him at the end of my 27th year, and then at 28 years, I asked him if he would take me through the steps, and he said he would. And I realized how many years I had been in sobriety and been in a program where I had really been at some level spiritually asleep. And this process truly spiritually awakened me, a much needed process in my life.
Yeah, especially after, 25, 26 years.
I really was still a bit selfish and self-centered in my obedience to working with others. Yeah.
I found it interesting about the conversation that he has about biology, that what happens when you drink. And I have had many people over the last 1,395 days come up to me and say, well, how do I know if I'm an alcoholic? How do I know if I'm an alcoholic? And there isn't a good answer for that. But the one I like the best has always been, well, you know that feeling you get when all of a sudden you've had 2 drinks, 3 drinks, and something comes into your head and you go, whoa, I'm done here. I got to stop. An alcoholic, when we get that feeling, we say, load me up, and it's pedal to the metal.
Right. Exactly. For me, when I drank, I never wanted that lightheaded feeling, that feeling of being drunk. I liked that. And I did not want that to go away. And so just like you, I'll just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. Yeah. And like your story, I ended up in a blackout, didn't know where I was, what I did, any of that kind of stuff. And I never was interested in drinking one or two. So possibly the question doesn't really apply to me. Did you drink more than you intended? In my situation, I always intended to get drunk. That was the only reason to drink in my world.
That's right. We didn't drink to socialize. We drank to get drunk.
Yeah, I would just soon drink soda if I could only have a couple.
Yeah.
Then I would have, I drank for a purpose. I drank to get drunk.
That's right. All right, we thank the good folks at Transformations. You can go to our website at restoringhopelive.com and check out Transformations. If you can call them, you can call them and ask some questions. When we come back, how does Jesus fit into all this? Dr. Mike's here, and we'll be with you live here.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our guaranteed success program, Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Learn more now at restoringhopelive.com.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
In Mark 10:51, it says this, "So Jesus answered and said to him, 'What do you want me to do for you?' The blind man said to him, 'Rabbi, that I may receive my sight.'" One thing that we should not forget about Bartimaeus is his heart was faithful. He took this incredible gift of sight that he was given, and he continued to follow our Lord. Sometimes for us it's hard to believe that we can go to the Lord and ask him for specific things. We should always ask, of course, according to his will and according to the faith in our heart.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Next time you're looking for something to do with your spouse, try this.
A Marriage Moment with Dr. Mike Hartwig for Marriage Matters Live.
Get in the car with your spouse and tell them that you're going to go to the 25th restaurant that you pass. Now, it might be McDonald's, or it might be an expensive steakhouse, or it might be fish and chips, or it might be hot dogs. One couple we told this to passed a restaurant the husband liked so much that he kept driving around the block until they reached their magic number. So to counter that, every time you come to a major intersection, flip a coin. Heads, you turn right. Tails, you turn left. One person concentrates on driving, and the other one concentrates on counting and flipping the coin. It's a fun night out that you never know where you're going. It could be pretty fun, or it could be pretty dull. But whatever the case, strong couples have learned how to have fun no matter their circumstances.
This Marriage Moment and Marriage Matters Live is a ministry of Restoring Hope Live, heard Sundays on this station.
Restoring hope.
This moment of uncontrollable laughter was made possible by a 32-year-old man with little to no coordination attempting to execute a simple cartwheel. His name is Sergeant Warner, but young James, our laughing friend here, simply calls him Dad. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Addiction specialists are ready to take your call. Call now, 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758.
Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
It's J. Michael McCoy back live with you here on XM Sirius and the American Family Radio Network. This is Restoring Hope Live. Please go to our website. Check it out. We're very transparent. Mike's bio is there, and Bob's bio is there. Mary, we're probably going to have to get your bio there. We heard from Matt Baird from the band Spoken. He's the one that wrote and sings our Restoring Hope Live song, that theme song you hear, and we thank him. We just had Herb K. on from California, and as a Baptist pastor,
Yeah, throughout the Baptist stuff.
Okay. Kind of tough to hear some of the stuff he says.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I find him talking in circular reasoning. I mean, he says, what's the purpose of AA? And he says, well, the purpose of it is to find God. And yet the God is which God? I mean, it's a God of your understanding. So I'm looking for something that, is my own definition. And plus, if we believe in a spiritual world, which we all do, how do we know that the God of our understanding didn't lead us to and contribute to our alcoholism in the first place?
Mine did.
Yeah.
I mean,
in essence, you're turning it back over to the God that got you into the first place.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I think it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And there's no hope outside of Jesus Christ.
And you're right. And I don't think there's anybody in this room that'll disagree with you. But here's an example. Mary, you were talking about a friend of yours. Can you share that without names?
Sure, I can. I have a friend who I was working with years ago, and anyway, she got married and was in 12-step program, and they went to a church and they found Christ and thought they didn't really need the 12-step program anymore. And he is back drinking, and his life is a bit of a mess. And again, I believe the thing that happens, and I'm not blaming Christ. I mean, certainly that's,
right.
It's a wonderful thing that they did, but it's just the coming where people understand us, where we can go there and we can talk. We can talk about, I feel like drinking today, and here's what happened. And 5 people around the table said, you know what, when that happened to me, this is what I did. Okay?
Right. My reaction to it is that when it gets down to point number 2, the power is greater than ourselves, calls us to restore us to sanity. Wait, where is it? Make a decision, turn your will over to the care of
God as you understand.
God as you understand it. Why can't we say, use the same steps, get to point 3, and just say, make a decision, turn your will over to the care of Jesus Christ or God? And I understand what you guys are saying is that that's too offensive to some people.
Right.
I get that. I understand that. And to that, I would agree with you.
I had no anger towards God when I decided to give up drinking. But so many people just hate God. They don't believe in him. Of course, they really do believe in him, Mary.
Well,
they just hate him.
Right. They're just angry at God because of their life, and they feel condemned. Okay, they feel condemned by, honestly, and I'm just going to say it, they feel condemned by the religious community. Okay,
I get that.
And so why that's the last place they're going to go.
I get
because
that.
the religious community has not loved them unconditionally. They have damned them. They have told them they're bad, you're horrible, you're a sinner, you're this, you're that. Well, you know what? If I tell a lie today, I'm a sinner. Okay, if I get drunk, I'm a sinner. That we could just name the sins forever. My understanding is a sin is a sin is a sin. God views them all the same, right? But somehow a lot of these people come and they've either have never even had any religious introduction, or they come and they have been so condemned by the religious community. That's the absolute last thing that they want to hear.
But what you're talking about is methodology. You're talking about how is this being implemented. And another thing, and I think this is something that we got to, in my mind, that we've got to address somehow, and that is what is the game plan here? What are we really going after? Are we trying to get people to quit drinking, or are we trying to give them a hope-filled eternity? Because if you say that it's all about getting people to quit drinking, That's going to say, I really don't care about point number 3. You can say, God, in my understanding, the Buell place, because all it is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
As what you said, that Herb said, the purpose is to find a relationship with God, okay? And that is the purpose, to get, because right now, when we get to the program...
But when Herb comes down and he says, you worship your Buddhist, he is leading them to a Christless damnation, eternity without Christ. And from my paradigm, all he's done is rearrange the deck chairs so it's nice and comfortable while they're here on this earth. And there's a bigger thing here at play. That's the reason why I think it has to revolve around Jesus Christ.
Mike, and I appreciate that. And I think everybody in this room would tell you that. But I've seen too many people who shy away from me in the beginning of a 12-step program because they know I'm a Jesus freak. And they don't want what I have. They want sobriety,
right?
But they don't want to turn their will and their life over to the care of Jesus Christ. They just want to turn their will and their life over to somebody who will get them sober. And then as we progress, and see, next week we're going to go through 10, 11, and 12, or 11 and 12?
11 and 12.
Jesus is just all over this thing.
Right.
All over. So by the time you wrap up the 12 steps, most usually you have found a personal relationship with Christ. Most usually.
And I understand that. And I don't want anybody listening to this program thinking that the number one thing is that if it's either Jesus Christ or my alcoholism, I hope that you understand.
Drunk Jesus freak?
Right.
Well, remember the reason for this program. And for those of you that are listening for the first time, I know you're going, wow, this is really raw. I mean, they're talking about real life stuff. The reason we do this program is not for the alcoholic or the drug addict or the emotionally abused victim or the gay person or whatever hurt habit or hang up you have in life. It's for you, the mom, the dad, the husband, the wife, the sister, the brother, the coworker. Maybe you're concerned about your pastor. What we do on this program is to try to give you an insight into the mind of addiction, into the mind of hurt and habits and hang-ups, so you know how to approach this person. Because if you've got a brother or a sister or somebody in your family that's an alcoholic and you bring up religion to them, what happens most usually?
They're not interested. They don't want to talk. They don't want to have the conversation.
Yeah, they feel they have been shamed by the religious community.
Absolutely.
So,
but there you're talking about methodology. You're talking about how it relates. I mean, I know that there's people that are doing this correctly and they're doing it right, and it's out of a care base, and they don't have that stigma about them, and yet they still take these steps and they say, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
And I don't want this to be a hang up, but to say that anything goes, I think that's a mistake.
I understand.
Let me tell a quick story, and that is there's a girl that I see every week in our choir. How she came to us, this is about 10 or 15 years ago. Her and her husband were strung out on meth. I mean, it was a sad case.
Yeah.
Husband left and all that. She was there, and she started meeting with us. And if there was a point, and if I would have pulled out this line, it doesn't really matter about God. Just whatever God you understand is fine with me. And I would have left that. She would have not be as healthy as she is. We started talking, loving on her, telling her about the love of Jesus Christ, telling her that you need to give your life to Jesus Christ. We worked through some of the principles, all of these principles that are listed in the 12-step program. I'm quite confident she would not be healthy today if I just said, just go worship Buddha if you want. Go
we
do
don't
this.
say go worship Buddha.
But if she would have initiated that, she would have came in and said...
But remember, there's only one God. Buddha's not a God. Okay? Buddha's not a God. Buddha's a person.
But what if she would have said, I believe that Buddha is my God?
And I think, here's what I think. I think what Herb was saying before is he was loving people where they were at. He told you it didn't matter, okay? He's loving people where they're at. And
I'm not?
No, you're not. You're telling them you'll get love, but you need to accept Jesus. In 12-step programs...
You are loved despite you not worshiping Jesus Christ. You are loved. I accept you. I grant you that. But I will tell you that there's going to come a day where every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
But let God meet them where they're at rather than you drag her to the foot of the cross.
You and I
we're
had
out
a
of time.
conversation. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Go ahead. Real
You
quick.
and I had a conversation before. If you really believe that a person that's supposed to have a relation with Christ does, the path to get there maybe isn't as critical. If we really believe that if so-and-so is supposed to have a relationship with Christ, it's going to happen, the path to get there maybe isn't.
We're coming back. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Check us out at restoringhopelive.com.